WineJump is a startup that wants to liberalize the wine trade in Europe. So the quality wine from wineries across Europe, from four different countries in Europe, from Germany, Italy, Spain, and France, can be sent directly from cellar door to the consumer, to the wine lovers across Europe. And today I'm talking to Thomas Winther and Marco Angermeier, who are the founders of WineJump. Thank you so much for being here. Now let me ask, WineJump has now been running successfully for about a year. So you started in March 2020. And within this past year, you managed to connect with a lot of wine estates. And tell me, how much has WineJump grown? How much has it developed over the past year?
Yeah, so we've had an amazing year despite COVID. As you said, in the beginning of March last year, we went live. We had been working almost a year before going live with Marco and his team, building all the technology that was required for us to sell wine from cellar door to front door, fully compliant and with no hassle. It's these two legs that WineJump offers in terms of our business solution. So we started out in March with 150 estates and about 600 wines on the marketplace. I think it's important that we call it a marketplace and not a shop, because we are a marketplace for estates to sell their wines to consumers, and we are not a wine business ourselves. We are a technology startup that provides the opportunity for wine estates to sell direct to consumers and for consumers to buy direct from the wine estates. But we started out with 600 wines from 150 estates, and we've been onboarding more than 100 estates every single month, and now actually we are onboarding at a higher pace than before. So now yesterday's count was 1,300 estates selling more than 4,000 wines. So it's going really, really well and really, really quickly. So we are adding to the team. We've got investors on board and so on and so forth. So we're off to a very, very good start. Yeah.
As I mentioned before, you started business exactly at the outbreak of the Corona crisis, which must certainly have been a turbulent time. So Marco, can you tell me what were the biggest challenges WineJump has faced this past year?
Well, despite what one would think, we have had actually no real hiccup because of Corona to get our wines or get the wines on the road. We're working with a very strong partner with UPS for the logistics, so they have also had maybe small hiccups here and there, or maybe a delay of 1 or 2 to fulfill the transport needs. But other than that, we had no major hiccups, and because we are so locally dispersed anyway within our team. So we have developers sitting in Ukraine, we have developers sitting in Serbia, we have partners or colleagues of ours sitting in Spain, Italy, France. So, and we are in any case used to being a virtual team more than a physical team. We have been very lucky that we have in our business development or business efforts not have been detrimentally affected too much.
That's great. You already mentioned.
Can I just chip in? Because quite the opposite actually, because WineJump has become even more attractive to wine estates because of COVID. Because the whole Horesta segment, all the restaurants and hotels, all their wine buying has basically stopped. So that means that there is much more wine available from wine estates today around Europe than there is actually need for. And what happens here is that all the big importers and retailers, they are pushing very hard on the prices. So a lot of estates are now having to sell out their stock at much lower prices than they had before. And that's of course a challenge, because I mean, how far can you go with still keeping your operations going out on the small family wine estates? So we are seeing now definitely an interest and a trend from wine estates that long term they need to move away from these importers and distributors, because it's just squeezing their business, especially the smaller estates making quality wines.
I think that's a development that's going to be happening soon for a lot of different a lot of different areas when it comes to food or drink or all these gastronomy. I actually don't know how to say gastronomy in English, but yeah. And Marco, you just mentioned the team all over Europe and how you work together with the wineries. And from what I understand, your team as well has grown a lot over the past year. So I'll just ask this question now, which was intended for later. With this intercultural team and with employees all over Europe, have you encountered difficulties working together when you're not in the same place, but also what advantages do you draw from this?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I should take that one, but of course, I mean, it's always nice to meet around the coffee machine in the morning and have also the social chat. Therefore, it might take longer to ease new people into the team when you're only working online. I'm sure other people can relate to that from the COVID online meeting schedules that people have had. It just takes longer time to onboard new people because the personal dimension is, of course, more difficult to get in a Zoom call than over the coffee pot. But on the other hand, I mean, for us, it would have been completely impossible to build WineJump without a dispersed team. The fact that we can communicate to both sellers and buyers on the marketplace in their language and with speed, email or a phone call helps us a lot. So Marco could not have been sitting in Germany with a team doing this, or I could not have been sitting in Copenhagen, Denmark with a Danish team doing it. It would never have been possible. So we have a lot of advantages from this team, and it's people also with an industry background. Most of them, I mean, industry background in different ways. So I have more the wine business kind of background. Marco has more the tech kind of business background. And then our dispersed team, most of them have a very strong wine industry background, right? Have been working in the Italian and Spanish and so on, the wine industry for many, many years. So they also know the lingo there locally to speak with people in the industry. So that helps us a lot.
Yeah. It's also very important because although we are in the wine tech business, wine tech industry, and it's all very, the new way of trading and the new way of doing things. On the other end, you're dealing a lot with humans behind the other end of the computer, and you need that local interaction, you need that ability to engage with the people, with the producers on a local basis. So that is very good to have that mix between those two, actually.
Thank you. And okay, sorry, 1 second. Okay, yes. So talking about, that I think it works well this way, talking about these wine producers, the local wine producers, as you said, how do or did they welcome you over this past year? Because you said that you have like about 100 estates more each month, so that's quite a lot. But do they generally welcome you with open arms, or do you have to do a lot of convincing? Thomas, maybe you can say something about that.
Yeah, I think it has surprised us how quickly they come on, because there has been a lot of it's obviously a very competitive industry that we are engaging in, and with many players and many importers and many distributors, and us coming then with an entirely new concept that also involves that sensitive area of excise duties and the authorities checking on whether or not you are paying your taxes. Obviously, that requires trust for the wine estates to engage with this kind of selling, that they can do this without getting into trouble. So we actually expected that we would need to do a bit more convincing to get a high pace of onboarding. But we've managed with our team, also because we are able to speak the local languages wherever we engage, to develop detailed guides on how exactly it is that it's working, what laws is it that applies from the EU, from the countries, their administrative procedures. Why is it that compliance is so important to us, and so on and so forth. So, and then Marco and his team has built a fantastic piece of hosting infrastructure on the tech side. So, so that the estate, similar like on Airbnb, they just register with us, and then they get access to a very, very well worked out interface where they easily present themselves with text and pictures, the wines, the countries they want to sell to avoid confusion with other middlemen that is now maybe providing the bread and butter in a certain market or two, so they don't want to compete with that, then they don't have to sell in those markets. We populate all the documents that they need and so on. They can see samples of that before getting on board. So, so it goes very, very quickly, even with a small team. Yesterday we had 11 estates onboarding in just one day. And you can imagine that that happened with our team being mostly occupied by doing other things than helping new estates to get on board, but we still managed to onboard 11 estates because of the machine and the concept that is now well communicated.
Yeah.
I think it's between us being a fulfillment partner, but having also the local representative to engage with the estate, so they know in Italy or so, or in Spain, or have to call Rodrigo to sort out something, and they know a person on our end. Although we are a virtual machine, they know a person on our end, and we are going and we are helping them fulfilling their export needs into Europe.
No, that's absolutely true, and that's a great number. Having 9 estates in one day, that's a lot, or seems a lot to me. Okay, so I have... Sorry, what?
It's a lot to us as well. 9 in one day is a lot. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I have 2 last questions, one for you, Thomas, and one for you, Marco. As I take it, Marco, you have to leave soon, so I'll try to be quick. But first, Thomas, this next question is for you, because you found investors very quickly in the initial phase, I take it. So now, what is your resume after the first financing round?
Yeah, we actually did not find them so quickly as we wanted to. But maybe that's because we have high ambitions. No, when we started out, it was Marco and I who put our savings into WineJump, and we burned that over a period of about a year and a half. So between spring 2019 and autumn 2020. And we actually wanted to have raised after 12 months and not 18 months. But then came COVID, and COVID was a challenging. I mean, that's what COVID has been challenging. That's where COVID has been a challenge, because the risk capital markets froze over when COVID arrived. Angel investors, which is seed investors that we are looking towards in the beginning, they were looking to cover their existing startups, right? That were all in trouble. Many of them were in trouble. So what do? Do you back more, want something that you have invested in already, or do you take on a new opportunity? And of course, you are trying to cover the risk with what you've already invested in. Many did, at least. So it was quite difficult. So we spent most of the summer getting finance investment on board, and then in September we landed our first investments, which was with 3 or 4 or 5 months delay. But we managed that, and with that we were able to seriously then begin also to professionalize the business, grow the team, spend more energy on marketing and so on and so forth. Then we had a German investor coming on board in November. That was extremely helpful as well. And then we just landed here in January our 3rd round investment. So now we're actually in a fortunate position of being well fueled. So we are not actively looking for investors at the moment, unless there is something of strategic interest that pops up. But otherwise, we will only be looking towards raising additional investment towards the end of the year, because now we are in a position where we can begin to really grow the business, not just in terms of the number of estates, but grow the business in terms of the user experience and the functionality. So what you will see over this year is that you will see a different kind of feel, different kind of look. You will have more features which are more user friendly in terms of how do you search, ratings of wines, a better wine exploration when visiting the wine estates and so on online. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great, because, and that's also what I would like to ask you now, Marco. The last question, because now that everything has been working out quite well for you, what are your next, or what are your medium-term growth targets, or what is your next big goal for WineJump?
Well, we of course want to continuously improve the platform. What we have created so far is only the beginning, because we have like a lot of what we think very good ideas and a lot of features that we think are lacking in general wine marketplaces, wine shops. And we have a long list of development we want to do, and for that we are now very happy to have that as Thomas calls it, the runway. We will get much more seamless, much more automated, much more slick on our marketplace, many more features for the consumers, for the buyers, also many more features for the growers, for the estates to interact also with their buyers, to be much more also community based. So we have a lot of ideas that we have, which we will put into place this year. Where we are now is basically proving that we have a great concept, and now it's on us to grow that.
Right. Thank you so much for being here, Thomas and Marco. That was very interesting, and it sounds like you had a good year, a good past year, and let's hope that 2021 will bring even better things ahead. So best of luck.